It says we are in a practice session.
No, so just give me a second. We have started. So good evening, everyone. Just give us a few minutes. We'll start. While we wait for everyone, I hope you have lots and lots of questions for today's session. Saurabh has brought some questions he wants to ask you so that he can tailor this session in a way that benefits all of you. So my name is Seema Chowdhury and I head the Harappa School of Leadership. We run one program right now, which is the Accelerated Management Program. It's a 6-month management program for people who want to sort of, continue to work and yet sort of upskill themselves. The backbone of the program is really the leadership curriculum that Harappa swears by and really believes in. And of course, we have data, product, and marketing, which are really the most critical sort of cornerstones of any professional's work life today. So it's really a program for the modern age sort of professional. I'd like to welcome Saurabh. Thank you so much for joining us. Saurabh is the co-founder of Sparklehood, and I'd like him to introduce himself and Sparklehood to all of us. Saurabh, the floor is yours.
Hi, Seema. Thank you for taking me here. Hi, everyone. Hope it's a nice evening for all of you. So, talking about Sparklehood and about myself. So, in my previous life, I have been into investment banking. Post that, I was running my own venture, Ziffy Homes, which was part of Y Combinator 2018. And right now, I'm building Sparklehood. So, Sparklehood is a community of senior professionals and leaders. The objective of this community or objective of Sparklehood is to help them magnify their influence and make a career move. Reason why did we start Sparklehood is primarily the reason that as professional, what we realized is that everyone was left on their own to grow in their career. And did not have an ecosystem. Probably the last ecosystem which did exist for most of us was college, and post that an alum network, which in most of the cases, the alum network doesn't seem to work very efficiently. So that is where Sparklehood stands and aims to help people.
So, Saurabh, should we start with your first question for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So in today's webinar, as we talked about, Saurabh wants to understand a little about what you think about networking. And for that, he's brought 5 questions that he wants to ask you. We'll ask the first 3 right now. It's a poll format. It will be great if you answer quickly and then we'll move on. So the question is, what is your primary motivation for building a professional network? Why do you all want to build a professional network? Oh, interesting. So most people, Saurabh, can you see the results?
No, I am not able to see the result.
Okay.
I just see the poll which has been asked.
Okay, so out of the 13 people have responded, almost 72% of the people have participated. 46% say that they want to, the primary motivation for building a network is really to get, advance their career and get better job opportunities. About 31% say they want to learn from industry experts and gain knowledge. Interestingly, 19% say that they don't know why they want to build a network, but they just want to understand what are the benefits. And only 13% say they want to use networking to collaborate on projects and achieve mutual goals. So, of course, the largest number is that people do want better career and better job opportunities. But is it surprising for you to know that almost 20% of this audience doesn't really know why they want to network, but they just think that they want to explore the benefits of networking?
That's interesting.
Interesting?
Yes. Now,
So
by the way, I can see the result now.
yeah, I've started sharing it. Should we go into the next question, or do we want to ask our audience? Okay, I think let's just go into our next question. Okay. Give me a minute. Okay, let's do the second one, and I'm launching the second one. Guys, you need to be very fast with this because Saurabh has also brought some interesting tips and tricks, etc., that he wants to share with you. But a lot of what you say will help. Okay, the second question that Saurabh wants to ask all of you is, how do you build your network today? What do you do to build your network? Do you network with office colleagues? Do you attend networking events? Do you network by participating in professional communities? Do you not network actively? So almost 67, 70% have answered now. We are at 80%, and I think I will close this. Any more? Anyone else? Okay. I'll close this poll now, Saurabh, and I'll share the results. There's a little mistake in one of them, but anyway. So as you can see, 87% people answered. They say they network with office colleagues. 26% network with office colleagues. Interestingly, the largest number is 33%, which says they don't network actively. About 22% say they network by participating in professional communities. In a very small percent, 20% say they attend networking communities and networking events. Saurabh, you have to tell us where the results are surprising you.
I think this part, as in quite many people saying that they do network in professional communities, that would be something interesting to know, as in what kind of communities do they engage with?
Okay, so maybe that's one question we can keep aside and ask in the chat. All
the
right.
other two things are quite obvious, means this is in line with whatever understanding we have at Sparklehood and whatever research we have done. Both things are in line, that most of the people are quite busy with their lives and they do not do an active networking. While a larger part of people, and that is something very fundamental to the discussion also, whatever we have today, is that a large number of people do active networking at office.
Okay. And here's your third question. On the scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, how effective do you think you have been in targeting second degree network? Would you like to explain to everyone very quickly what is second degree network?
Second degree network, in very simple word, would be your friend of friend, and in professional, maybe a partner to some other office colleague.
Okay. So someone you don't know directly, but know through someone.
Right.
Okay. All right. Only 55% have answered. We'll wait a little bit more. Okay. $75. Come on, a few more, and at 80%, I'll stop. Anyone else? Okay. I'll stop here, Saurabh, and I'll just share this. Only 75% people answered this, and I'm sharing the results. Does this surprise you? most people, about 45% of the people here are not rating themselves very high on this skill. Some are sort of in the middle, which they're between 4 to 6, which would say, okay, average. Very few, I would say only 17% seem to be hovering in that, I'm doing okay kind of range.
I'm surprised by 4 to 6 rating, as in 38% people. I believe that we don't even do that. Means this should have been probably a lot lower.
Okay. All right. So before we continue, and everyone, as we've said, this is a session for you. Please do put your questions in the Q&A box, which is right at the bottom of your screen. We will be taking questions live as we go along. Saurabh, you had a small presentation, something that you wanted to share with everyone. Should we get into that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So welcome you all again. And while we start the presentation, primarily we would be talking about networking and how can networking, in what ways it helps you, what are the few things which people don't realize, and then we look at possible things around communities, and then we would like to discuss it in an open flow where we would love to answer whatever questions we have. So the first question or the first point which I would want to address is that networking is a process. It's not an end result. Like whatever people told that maybe many people want to do networking to get a job opportunity, we have to realize that that is the end result, and networking is a process. If the networking is done right, then obviously there are multiple benefits, multiple tangibles, intangibles, which grow along with that. But yes, that's a process. How do we define networking? What is networking? So it all boils down, probably I'll say that, just give me a second.
Maybe we can ask some of them to put us in the chat. You can tell us in one line what you think networking is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone would like to take a shot at what they think networking is? Okay, we have a response from Vipin who says mutual benefit from relationships. Anyone else? Okay, Saurabh, back to you.
There is a lag, so I'm just trying to adjust with the lag.
Okay, while we are doing that, a few people, Sanjay says it's to get to know more people on the professional front. Abhishek says connecting with people on a similar subject to get a better solution. Joby says networking to connect with people from different industries to forward your development. And that's a funny one. Varad Murthy says it's a pyramid scheme. Networking is all about finding more people to whom you can sell your product, who will then sell the product to more people and then some more people. That's a good one. All right. Sort of all okay now? The lag is sorted?
Yeah. So probably we'll move to this part. So networking starts with trust, and it starts with relationship. These are the two or one basically fundamental thing which builds and is the core of networking. It is a process to build trust, right? Because ultimately, what is the end objective of networking, be it job, be it anything else? What we are expecting people is to go an extra mile for you. Maybe if you network with me, you are expecting that at one point of time I would go ahead and go and do an extra mile for you for anything whichever you want to, right? And the fundamental core thing to get that done is to build that trust. I would not take that extra mile for you unless and until I trust you. Right. So this is the basic core fundamental pillar of any networking activity which has to be done. It should not be looked at selling. Otherwise, it's very similar to direct selling. So it's a fine balance, right? Where you go from networking to kind of become pushy and try to sell yourself or sell your services, right? So this trust is the building of this trust is the entire process of networking, and this is the fundamental thing. Coming to, while we talk about this fundamental principle, let us look at what do we mean by networking and which network do we are we talking here about. So we define, as in, if you look at conceptually or theoretically, the network is primarily considered first degree of network is people whom you are directly connected to. Now, people whom you are directly connected to, there is a by default trust which does exist. In terms of, it might be because you have been friends with them very long, you have been working with them, probably you have studied together in college and various other forms. And this is the primary network where we all live around, like most of us. This is the network where we thrive, and this is the network where we belong to. And we believe, a lot of us believe, that this network, having such a large network itself, gives you a opportunity. Howsoever, if you look deeper, this is not the network which primarily helps you. If you look at entire research, this is what it says, that your first degree of network is not able to help you. The reason is, you your first degree of network is your common friends. So all the opportunities which are there are not new opportunities. They are, most of the opportunities are known. And if you go and look back in your life, you would realize that most of the new opportunities, be it in terms of career, be it in terms of some connect, be it in terms of a business growth, whatever has happened, if you look deeper, it would have happened because somebody reached out in the second network, right? And as per research, 63% of the, in fact, higher, 63 was the, around 80% of the opportunities which you get in your life are through your second degree of network and not through your first degree of network. Right. So that is the reason why we say that building your network probably to the second degree, moving on to the third degree is quite difficult. And if you look here, what are these circles? These circles, what we are showing here, is primarily your different communities or different groups to which you belong to. Maybe this is your college group, maybe the other network is your office group. And moving beyond that first degree of network is what is important. Why is this networking important? While in the audience, if you look at people, I believe that people would be from different degrees of experience. So let us try to map it in terms of, probably I'm doing it primarily in terms of the career opportunities and how does education work out. So when you start your career, most of the opportunities which come to you are through the first degree of network at that point of time, because you have been part of college placement and similar. And at this point of time, the only thing which matters in your life, probably to the extent of 80 to 90%, is upskilling, because you join an organization as an individual contributor. When you join as an individual contributor, the biggest factor to your growth, career growth, or acceleration in the organization is dependent on you upskilling yourself. Howsoever, as you continue doing so, what happens 5 to 7 years down the line? At that point of time, your role has changed. Now you are no more an individual contributor, right? Probably you would be managing a project or you would be managing a team. And so at this point of time, what happens while your role changes, upskilling, which has helped you to grow at till this point of time, is not going to help you further, right? And it would probably contribute just 10% to your growth. So how do you go ahead? Though we all know the answer, have read somewhere that yes, this is what networking does. Having said that, and most of us knowing that, it's not easy. Why is it not easy? Because at this point of time, your 85% of network, as most of the people said also, belongs either to their office or their friends and family or few near colleagues. So this network, while a good enough network, does not give you access to new opportunities.
Saurabh, before you go on, can you once again explain the difference or once again define what is second degree and what is third degree of networking?
So first degree of network is probably where you are directly connected, right? So office colleagues are your first degree of network. Your college friends with whom batchmates are your first degree of network. Your school friends are your first degree of network,
Okay.
right? The second degree of network is their circle, their friends, right? So a second, in case of office, the second degree of network can be people working with similar companies, right? And like probably if you are working in consulting uh, at ENY, so people working in KPMG are your second degree of network.
So those who know that person from, say, a previous job or something, and you
Right.
not so you may be working in an association A, and the people you know there are your first degree, but from that, some of the people may know someone in association
Right.
B.
So
And when you
which
connect with
LinkedIn,
B, that becomes your second degree.
right, which LinkedIn very conveniently or very easily shows as mutual connects.
Ah, okay.
Right. So people, the stronger, the larger the number of mutual connects you have, the stronger is your second degree, that person as your second degree network.
Okay. And then what's third degree?
Third degree would be the further connect to that.
So you know someone who knows someone who knows someone.
Right. So third degree of network is something which would require super networking skill
Okay.
or an external force to help you build your third degree of network.
Okay.
Right. So coming back to this, so the entire, what does this graph or this the illustration shows is that in your early career, what is most important is your upskilling yourself, because without you being competent, nothing is going to work. Right? Nobody, no network, no friend, no relationship can help you get through an incompetence. Right? So you need to build your skill set, and those are the initial few years where you spend all your time to do that. While at one point of time, when you are right now where you have gained certain skills, you are competent, you have certain skill sets which are mapped to your experience. How do you define your growth thereafter? So thereafter, your growth primarily depends on networking. Right? And what happens if you don't do? Let us assume that yes, I'm too skilled, I don't need to do it. Right? We can have a discussion on this. So what would happen? Probably you are working with company A. Everyone knows you very well in company A. You have been promoted every year in that organization because of that. Let's say company B, C, and D are probable companies where you would want to move later on in your career as you progress. While you are competent right now, everyone knows in company A what is going to happen if there is an opportunity in company B. The recruiter at company B does not know you, right? And no person in company B knows about you. So what you are hoping is that when there is a particular role which would fit you, the recruiter would do a search probably on LinkedIn or any job portal. You are assuming that your resume gets shortlisted there. And while your resume gets shortlisted, you catch the eye of recruiter. This recruiter reaches out to you, but you know that the recruiter would not be reaching out to you, but also 10 or 20 other people too. So that is the position, by default position, where you would stand if you are not actively networking.
We have some comments here which I wanted to pick up quickly. This is the
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sanjay. They're saying third degree can only be virtual. And, it only works, you're able to get to the third degree of sort of relationships or connections only if you have a strong online brand. So is that a true statement or a false statement? And how does that really work then?
See, if you are working individually or independently, yes. This is where the role of communities come into the picture, which can accelerate this process. Why is online brand needed? Because you are assuming the hypothesis is that nobody knows me, right? So a third person might be connected, but that person does not know me. So I need probably to establish my online brand. Now, the hypothesis here is that I need to do it on LinkedIn. I need to become an online brand on LinkedIn, or maybe TikTok, or maybe any other platform. Whereas that is not necessarily true. You don't need the entire universe to know you. You just need a smaller group to know you, and that probably create a smaller universe, which a community works like, right? So a community is a smaller universe where it's much more easier for you to establish your brand.
So a community can be online or it can be in person.
It can be online or an offline.
So then what you're necessarily saying is that the third degree doesn't always have to be virtual, and it doesn't always have to be linked to your online brand that you create.
Yes, absolutely. Your positioning or your brand building has to be done, but it does not need to be here. I'm assuming online means basically we are saying that the entire universe, LinkedIn. So probably I have to become a voice of authority on LinkedIn, or a LinkedIn voice of this particular. So it does not need to be good to be taken to that extreme. And a community works as a smaller universe where you can do that.
You're essentially saying the effort that people put in building an online presence probably is better spent if they do that in a closed community where people are sort of there for a specific purpose, or are there from a specific profession or something, and then sort of you have better chances rather than putting it out for the World Wide Web to see.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So Vipin wants to know if there are any examples of such. So for example, you'll have, I mean, of course, there's Sparklehood, but you could also be, for example, if you're a CA, then there could be a community of CAs or a charter of CAs in your city. Lawyers have communities of their own. Sometimes you'll find that alumni of a particular sort of, institution, you don't know everyone, right? So that's how you sort of develop if you stay in touch with alumni of your particular institution, or you sort of get active in that community, that's people who come from the same sort of background or similar professions or similar sort of experiences as you, and could be sort of seen. Any other examples you would like to give, Saurabh?
A lot many communities are there, like in terms of technical roles, product management communities are there, right? So in a way, Harappa also creates the community, right? So every cohort is a community of certain people.
All right.
So these all are examples. The question here is that even if these communities are not something which we are talking of today, or something new which has come in. These communities have existed since probably the time when humans established themselves as civilizations. Right? So communities have existed forever and ever. In more technical business, if we look older in time, charters, business groups, which were originally with this objective only. Right? So it has always existed. The bigger, I'll say, the challenging part here is how do you establish your brand in that community? Right? Because what is again, taking an example, what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a virtual or a platform of similar communities, right? Which earlier existed in physical such communities, LinkedIn is a uh, platform to do that. Howsoever, one of the problems which do exist in all these communities is that it does not give you an opportunity to establish your brand, right? And it is left as an individual for you to see that how do you establish yourself as a brand in that smaller community. And probably on a very simple term, any community which does you or provides you hand holding to establish or handholds you to establish your brand in the community is a good brand, or is a good community which can help you grow exponentially in your career.
Should we move on?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, when we talk about networking, this is how are the four stages of networking, which we can say unfamiliar to familiar, then moving on to meaningful, and then finally a credible network. And this is the credible network when we say is where you have established your trust, or you can say your brand. And then when this happens, then what happens is an exponential result where people, a lot many people actually go ahead and take that, commit that extra mile for you, right? And then we look at how does this journey happen, unfamiliar to moving to a credible network. Sorry. So these are the basic fundamentals of networking in any of the communities, whatever we look at. It starts with, do you want to ask something, Seema?
No, I was just reading. It says, first of all, I think the first tenet is you don't judge other people.
Right. This is most important. Uh, do not judge people, right? We do not know, and it's by default, it happens to all of us. And probably we need to do a lot of unlearning and learning to arrive at this stage where we say that we will not judge people. Right? We do not know the scenarios, the circumstances, and a lot many things, the context by which people have an opinion. Not judging is one of the most fundamental principles when you join any particular community. The second step is engage. The first step of brand building starts with your engagement. A lot of us I'll say don't communicate or don't engage in the communities because the first thing which comes to our mind is what will other think? How will I be perceived based on the answer which I give? How will I be perceived based on the opinion which I give? The fact is that everyone is so busy in everyone's life that nobody cares. Probably whatever you say today would be, most of the things would be forgotten by tomorrow, unless and until we are going to that extent where you make a political comment, or probably I'll say the no to zones. If you are not in those no to zones, then people do not remember what you said today. They'll not remember tomorrow.
Yeah,
And it has to start with, you should be open to voice whatever your opinion without thinking that other people are judging.
And also don't be obnoxious or rude deliberately, I suppose. That's
Right.
one thing people don't forget.
Right, these are the basic ethics means etiquettes. So we are not going to the etiquettes, but yes, these are unsaid. But yes, obviously assume that yes, you are not going to be rude, you are not going to be unjust, you are not going to be uh, anything else which
All
people.
that is part of not judging, right?
Right. Help. Third thing, help other win. When we join the communities, what problem I have seen, or I'll say a roadblock which I've seen, is that people start with a very short-term agenda. That what am I going to gain from this community? Even engagements, people start engaging only when they think that there's something beneficial for me into it, right? And probably this is, I believe, reason is much deeper. The reason is how Western and Eastern culture has been built. So in East or in our culture, trust is not a by default given. Any relationship does not start with trust, right? We probably have a saying that trust has to be earned, right? And if you look at West, probably it starts with people start the relationship with trust, and there the usual assumption is that trust needs to be once broken, then these steps are taken. But by default, the relationship starts with trust. So this also comes with uh, an extension to of this point is about when we say that what's in it for me, having that short term that I do not trust these people, right? So I'll engage only when there is something in it for me where I will engage. Whereas when you join a community, you have to start with helping others win. If you help start with this objective and you see that you are helping others to win, you'll probably over a period of 6 months, 3 months time, you'll start seeing 10x results. And we have seen this in the community. Like at Sparklehood, these are the fundamental things which we build upon, and we have seen people get tremendous output in terms of business connections, in terms of new opportunities, the kind of job shares which people do, the kind of reference which we get in the community. This is just one part of it, right? So we have seen this happening, and these are fundamentals. This will work anywhere and everywhere in any of the communities. It is not something specific to what we have identified. It's more like these are the fundamentals, and which probably we have forgotten or we have lost focus on. And yes, the final thing being give. Give as much as you can, and you'll get 100x in return.
And when you say
When
give, you mean share in terms of your
Sure,
contact, share in
right,
terms of advice and mentorship, anything that you can in your capacity do, right?
do right, absolutely. And by giving, in when you say on again, I'll map it to other things. When you say online brand or establish myself as a brand, this brand does not specifically mean establishing as a brand as if you need to be an expert in something. You get noticed even by giving. When you give, 10 other people notice you. Maybe they are not actively participating, it's not about them, but they notice that someone is giving, someone is helpful. So even if you have not helped someone directly, that person will be open to help you in return because you have helped somebody else in the community.
So we have some questions that have come in before we go to your anything else you'd like to add here, Saurabh, or should we take the questions now?
Let us take the questions. I think that would be better.
Okay, so will you stop screen share?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so one of the questions that came from it's Sanjay, and it came a while back, almost like 15 minutes into the webinar, and Sanjay said, why is networking not effective?
Why is networking not effective?
Mm-hmm.
My answer is networking is very effective. We think networking is not effective only when we are not doing it right. If the uh, if we start a networking activity with the objective of taking from the relationship or taking from that network, the relationship which I'm building on, it does not work. I'll give a very simple example rather than saying it. When a salesman reaches out to you, there are two kind of salesmen. One salesman who comes to you probably, or even on LinkedIn, somebody connects to you, and thereafter, as soon as you connect, there would be a message. Hi, I'm selling this. This is what my product does. This is what it is beneficial, and happy to. Would you want to discuss it further? In 99% of the cases, people don't answer to such messages because there is no relationship which does exist. The other person has not done anything to build your trust. They do not ask. And vis-a-vis a second case where probably a person connects to you and messages you that what is, maybe he understands you more, he has gone through your LinkedIn profile or knows something about you and tries to understand your problem statement. What is it that your problems are? And then tries to sell it to you, or not sell, but actually in a way tries to help you understand how their product solves your particular problem. In that particular case, you are much open to uh, take that discussion forward. So I'll say networking is or has been, is and will always be effective. But yes, there are basic protocols which you need to follow. You have to start networking with the idea of giving first and not that taking first.
Okay, we have a question here from Suresh who wants to know, how do we leverage our existing network effectively, such as our old school groups or college groups, etc.?
So probably if you want to leverage on your existing network, right? One of the ways how I do it is probably allocate few hours per week where you just talk to people. So pick up your phone, the easiest way and the simplest way, pick up your phone, call few of those people. Spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just talk to them. What are they doing? Understand where they are. Right? You'll be amazed when you start talking to those people, the kind of new opportunities which you are able to get through. The why does it not work? Because we don't do it consistently. And we don't do it as a regular part. We do it today, probably because I am free, but next week I would not do it. And it's not going to work that way. Probably block your calendar that, yes, this is my catch up time every week. Maybe start with just 30 minutes. That is I'll say, the easiest and the best way to start with.
Okay, there's another question here from someone who says, how do you find a co-founder and propose to get him or her on a board? Very specific.
Now that's a difficult one, not because there are two ways to do it when you're looking for a co-founder. One is to explore your network, as in people from your college and school. While you are doing it, the rule starts with talking to people. So again, fix up a 30 minutes time or 1 hour slot, depending upon how much time you have, and just talk to people in your past, from your school, from your college, and talk to them about what you are doing. Do not propose that you are looking for a co-founder, right? Because this is not something which you can sell. Ultimately, an ideal co-founder thing will happen when it's an inbound thing rather than an outbound sales, right? So it just talk to people, tell them about what you are doing, and just tell them that yes, you are looking for this kind of person as a co-founder. And in most of the cases, I have seen that while you are doing it, quite a few people find and connect with someone in this particular way. So this is about using your existing network. The second way, uh, which is again a longer process, is that you need to build your brand. Again, I'll come down and I'll break it into smaller parts. But yes, the objective should be that you are able to build a brand or talk about whatever your startup is more and more to the larger audience. And you'll be surprised by the number of people who will reach out to you. The problem here is what is happening here, or what the basic problem is, that in your network, finding someone who aligns with your vision of what you are doing. Every startup has a vision, has a hypothesis on which it is starting. So in your network itself, finding someone who aligns with that vision has a lower probability, and you need to increase your probability. So to increase the probability, you need to increase the surface area of your audience. The larger the audience, the higher the probability of finding someone who has similar vision or is inspired by what you are doing. So now, while I said that you need to build an audience or you need to build your brand and talk more around what you are doing, is again a long-term process and difficult doing it on LinkedIn. So probably start doing it in communities, right? And probably join some communities which are around startups, focused on startups. That should lead you to somebody who can become your co-founder. But yes, do not sell people upfront about would you want to be a co-founder. Probably tell about what is the kind of role which you are doing and what is the kind of person which you are looking at, and see if what is the kind of interest which you get.
All right. Let's quickly take a last question. We still have two more poll questions to go. I don't know if we'll have time for that. But this is Neha. And Neha says, can we straight away dive into the problem statement and solution that our product offers? Or do we need more touch points, even though we have connected with a prospective person on LinkedIn?
Just reading the question to understand it.
It's in the chat. She hasn't put it in the Q&A.
Straightway dive into the problem statement and solution that our products offer, or do we need? See, touch points, I'll say touch points is not necessary. The touch points are basically ways by which you connect to a person. If you have sent a request to somebody on LinkedIn and the person has connected, then you do not need a further touch point around that. But what you need to, yes, I would say that you should not straight away dive to problem statement and solution, but you should spend more time in understanding the problem which the person has. Right? It's not about the solution. The solution can come much later. Right? Because I'll answer this through a different reason. Any product can have multiple use cases, right? And we all know and we have seen that while a builder or founder builds a product with one perspective, the customers use it in very different ways, which a founder had not even thought of. So when you reach to a customer and you start with selling, you have by default assumed their problem statements or the use cases, how they could use, without actually understanding what are the alternative products which they use, what are the problem statements they have with the usage of those products, what are the costs which they incur, what are the reasons of those problems. So you should, your first step should be probably to engage and deep dive into their specific problem statement. So now if I say, what do we mean by deep diving into the problem statement? Your product, I'll put few points to it. Your product does solve a solution. So what are the alternatives which they are using right now? With those alternatives, what are the pains? What are the problems? If it's a perfect solution, then your product does not have a use case. Right, so there must be certain problems, and in every product there are certain drawbacks. So try to understand those drawbacks, those friction points. What is the cost component to it? How much cost does the person incur? When I say cost, not only the monetary cost, but also in terms of time. Probably doing an activity takes a lot of time. And when you understand these things, you are in a better position to position your product, which can solve their problem. Right? Because you are the person who knows best how and what way the product can solve their problem at that point of time when you understand the problem. So probably that is the time when you go ahead and offer your product, or say inform them that these are the solutions to your problems through this product in this particular way.
All right. I hope we've answered all the questions that they were there, and I hope we can stay connected with all of you. Do look forward to sort of engaging with you again. And please do reach out to Saurabh if you're interested in understanding Sparklehood and what it does, and to the accelerated management program at the Harappa School of Leadership if you are looking to upskill, which, by the way, Saurabh did mention is one of the critical ways to sort of, at some point up your networking game and other sort of
Absolutely. There is no substitute to upskilling.
All right. With that, we'd like to end this webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for taking time out, Saurabh.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Seema, for giving this opportunity. And thank you, everyone, for being a wonderful